Hi, I'm Stephen King, the greatest living author of all time, and I'm here to tell you, don't listen to any crap that Bookish Drummer has to tell you. He's an idiot. If you've seen his past videos, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He doesn't like It, he doesn't like The Stand, he thinks Pet Sematary and The Green Mile are overrated. This guy wouldn't know a great Stephen King book even if it grew arms and slapped him in the fucking face. This guy has a worse taste in books than Annie Wilkes. Don't listen to anything Bookish Drummer tells you. He's not a true constant reader. Anyway, please don't watch any of his... Uh-oh, is that him? Stephen King, what are you doing? Oh, I gotta go, guys. So today's video is going to be my 6th episode of my Stephen King ranking video series. In this episode, I'm going to be taking a look at the books that I would rank 25 through 21. The books I have for this episode are interesting. I have 2 Dark Tower books, and I have 3 books that were written in the past 10 years. So 2 Dark Tower books, and then some more recent stuff. Anyway, enough of the preamble. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to go ahead and start off a little controversial here. It's one of the Dark Tower books I was talking about, and for number 25, Song of Susanna, book 6 in the Dark Tower series. A lot of constant readers, a lot of Dark Tower fans would easily say that this is the worst Dark Tower book, and I completely disagree. I, of course, understand why, people don't like it. For many people, it's considered a filler book in between books 5 and book 7. And there's an aspect to this book, which I can't really get into, that I know people don't like. But that reason why people don't like it is the exact reason why I like it. I love that aspect. And I can't quite talk about it here. I think this is easily the most overlooked, most underrated Dark Tower book King has written. And I think it's just very underappreciated. I think if people... I'm not sure how to convince people, but I love it. And it's number 25. And for number 24, we have Revival. I also feel that this book is underappreciated and can be overlooked in the grand scheme of things when it comes to Stephen King's books. It's a fairly recent release. This came out in 2014, and it's written a little bit differently than how King normally writes. Normally, King uses third-person point of view, and he has multiple perspectives in his stories, especially when he writes longer books. This book is relatively short. It's actually written in first person, which I actually think he needs to use more often, because whenever he does, it turns out really good. And most of the time when King writes a shorter book, they only take place in a very short amount of time, like a few days or like a week. This very short book spans a whole person's life, like from when they're a child until they are middle-aged or elderly. And I think it's a very unique way to tell such a short story, because we get the main character when he's a kid, and we see how his life progresses. And I don't really want to get too much into detail about what the story is about, because I think it's better going into it not knowing a whole bunch about it. I will say, though, that the major themes of this book are definitely about mortality, life and death, and there's a lot of religious aspects to it, too. And you guys know, if you've watched any of my Stephen King content, that I sometimes have a problem with Stephen King's pacing, especially when he writes longer books. But this book is just pretty much perfectly paced. It's almost perfect. It's so good. And it has one of Stephen King's, maybe not best endings, but just a really nihilistic and just gut-wrenching ending. And it's an ending that I'll never forget. And I'm sure if anyone picks this up and reads it, they won't forget it either. And for all of those reasons, this is number 24 on the list. And number 23 on the list, we have Genevieves Button Box. This isn't even a full novel, it's just a novella. This came out in 2017, and actually when it came out, I didn't really necessarily have money to buy a new copy, so I literally went to Barnes & Noble and just like read it in a couple hours without even buying it, and it was very good. It was definitely a lot better than I was expecting it to be, for sure. And since it's very short, I really don't want to give too much away. All I will say is that it's about a little girl named Gwendy, and when we meet her, she runs into this guy who may be someone who's in a lot of Stephen King books, maybe who has the initials RF, maybe. And this man gives her a button box, and he tells her that, you know, these different buttons will do certain things, and it basically goes from there. Like I said, I don't want to give too much away. It's very short, and you can pretty much read it in one sitting. It's extremely good. It's a lot, like I said, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And I'm a sucker for Stephen King novellas in general. I think he's a better novella writer than a novel writer, to be honest. A lot of his novels can be hit or miss, but Stephen King rarely lets me down with novellas. I think overall King fans do like this novella, but they probably wouldn't put it as high as I do. But it's my list, so whoa. I honestly don't know what that was. So yeah, I love this little novella, and it's number 23 on the list. All right, for number 22 on the list, we got a chunker. It's going to be Wizard and Glass, book 4 in the Dark Tower series. And it's a chunker. Surprisingly enough, this book can be hit or miss for a lot of Stephen King fans, which always surprises me because I loved this book the first time I read it. The main reason why people wouldn't like this book is that book 1 is essentially an extended prologue. Book 2, you get introduced to the characters, and then book 3 is finally where stuff starts happening. And then in book 4, we kind of take a breather, take a pause on the trip to the Dark Tower, and we tell a 700, 800 page backstory about Roland. And if you're not interested in that, you're not going to like this book. But for a lot of Dark Tower fans, they're very much interested in learning about Roland's past, and that's exactly what you get here. And I love it, and a lot of people do. It's not quite my all-time favorite Dark Tower books. We'll get to those in future episodes. But this book is fantastic nonetheless. And I think that's all I can really say without giving too much away, so I'll just end it there. Number 22 on the list is Wizard and Glass. It's a chunker. And finally, for the last book in the video, number 21, we have Stephen King's newest release, Later. There might be a bit of like recency bias here because, you know, I read it when it came out just, you know, in March, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and I really didn't have too many issues with the book. And it almost made my top 20, so that's how much I like it. I didn't quite want to put it in my top 20, just like I said, because it's a very recent read. I want to sit on it for a little bit, maybe reread it, you know, a little bit in the future, see if it holds up, because honestly, I don't know if it will hold up. I'm sure it will, because it was really good. I actually have a review for this on my channel. It's like my highest viewed video, even though it's a book review, and a lot of the times when I end up doing book reviews, they don't get too many views, but for some reason this did. But like I said, I pretty much had no real issues with the book. The characters were all great, the pacing was great, but the plot was great. Just not a lot of complaints from me. It's definitely a book that I can see myself reading again and again later on in the future. For any Stephen King fan who has read a bunch of his older and more classic stories, but they really haven't kept up to date with some of his newer stuff, this would be a pretty good one to start with, It's relatively short, you can get through it pretty quickly, and it's just an overall great read. And with time, I could definitely see it cracking my top 20, but for now, it sits comfortably at number 21. Alright, so that is how I would rank Stephen King's books 25 through 21, and next Friday, I'm going to be starting off my top 20 list, which is, we're really getting into my favorite Stephen King books ever. Next Friday, I'll be looking at books that I would rank 20 through 16. And for the last 4 episodes of my ranking Stephen King video series, these are all going to be 5-star books. I'm like 99% sure. I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure these are all 5 stars. Pretty sure. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought of this entry into my Stephen King ranking series. Have you read any of these books? Are some of these your all-time favorite Stephen King books? Are any of these your least favorite Stephen King books? Either way, let me know down in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching and have a terrific day.